an announcement that came through in relation to
I would have held it there for
a
3
relevant
minutes.
interest that was acquired by Cromwell Property Group. Just looking at the ASX release now, there was it was saying that Cromwell Property had actually acquired a relevant interest of 9.83% of Investor Office Fund overnight. But now Investor coming out saying that it's not aware of any information in relation to Cromwell's interests beyond this information that's been set out in this release. So just confirming that speculation there. They're not aware of any of that interest there. We are still waiting to hear out from Fortescue Metals. Of course, they're out with their production numbers today. We'll be closely watching those miners on the local session because we have seen an uptick in iron ore overnight, another 4.7% or so. Those SPI futures are looking pretty positive there this morning, indicating a pretty good start. Let's bring in James Ordus, who joins us now live from Shaw and Partners in Sydney. James, great to see you there this morning. Really appreciate your time. We mentioned there the uptick that we've seen in iron ore prices overnight. In fact, an almost 10% rise that we've seen over the last 2 days or so. Do you think these moves are justified?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to bear out how much of the actual the movement in the index and the Dalian futures are being played out by the actual shipments going through and the demand for it. But it definitely seems to be a momentum position at the moment where, you know, we get these things moving down towards their moving averages, their lower moving averages, then bouncing to the upside. So iron ore has been very firm, and it looks like it will continue through into the Singapore session when Dalian futures come on today. And obviously that's going to carry through to our index here.
Yeah, so that's likely to be supportive, you believe?
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly that combined with the oil price moves as well. It was only a few weeks ago that, you know, we were bemoaning oil having come off of its highs, and you know, over the last couple of weeks it's regained all of that and bouncing to the upside again. It looks very firm in terms of the oil price moving towards those 200-day moving averages. Both the WTI and Brent are above the 100-day moving averages. That's, you know, sentiment driven, and you know, at the moment we've got some commentary coming out overnight in terms of those that are going to be at the Doha meeting on the 17th. And so it's very probable that if we get some kind of an accord with the oil producing nations that they're going to put a cap on things, we'll see oil get a bit of a backstop and hopefully hold that 40 level for both of them, which they're both above right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that positive sentiment there. A lot of hopes being pinned on that meeting, but also a lot of scepticism, it seems, flying around at the moment. Do you think the market, I mean, if we don't see some sort of agreement coming through on the weekend, that the market could easily be very disappointed and we could see quite a sharp reversal in this recent rally?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we could see well below 40 trade, you know, coming through into next week should there be no concrete resolution in terms of what they're going to do in terms of the cap on the freeze on production and restricting production, because the markets could see the oils trade towards the mid-30s if that were to be the case, and it would need some kind of positive accord in order for oils to hold above the 40 level, and that's obviously, you know, beholden to the whole market. So, you know, risk off on equities would occur when we're on a risk on environment right now, and we'll go risk off straight away next week should there be no positive accord.
Well, speaking of that risk on sentiment, Dr. Copper as well also seems to be sort of joining that risk on party at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to be the one that many of us are not talking about so much, and you know, as you and I have discussed before, copper is really, as the base metal, are very important for manufacturing. So we've got China data coming out today. Their imports and exports will be, you know, keenly watched, and copper will be a part of that. So it will be interesting to see what the demand pull is like on copper. Copper is at the well, lucky Chinese number maybe, but it's 8% below the high where it was recently, but it's still 8% above, even being 8% below, but still 8% above what the January lows were. So copper's looking firm as well. So we've got all of the commodities complex pushing up, and the one thing that's given back a little bit obviously is gold, because, you know, with the less of a demand for safe haven assets, as we saw USD come down across the board, and less demand for gold as a result of that, so gold came off a little bit. So that's the one not at the bull party right now.
What are some of the technical levels that you're watching? Obviously, so that lift in commodities likely to support that risk on sentiment today. Technical levels though, what are they looking like?
Well, we're trading right below the 50-day moving average at 5001 for the ASX 200 index. So it's not going to take much of a push to get to that level. It's 0.51% above the current levels where we closed out at 4975 yesterday. So I think that we'll get a decent push towards that today. We'll open up above that level. Where we'll get some resistance is at the 100-day moving average, which is above it. It's 69 points above the close yesterday. So I think that that's going to pretty much cap our move today, which is 1.3% odd higher, and that will cap our upside move today unless we get something which is really data-driven coming out of China or even Japan's data coming out today as well.
Well, speaking of that data, I was just about to ask you about that. Locally here yesterday, we obviously saw business confidence numbers coming out, and that provided a boost to the Aussie dollar, which we know continues to surge at the moment. And it's not just Aussie data that we're looking out for today, China data as well. Is that likely to be a driver of the Aussie?
Yeah, it will. It looks like we're trying to push towards the year's highs of just over 77, and the high overnight was 76.90 odd, and we'll given a positive open to our market, and then follow on when Japan comes in with their data, because they're coming out with their PPI year on year. And if that's fairly strong, we'll get some further push on the Aussie. And I think 77 is more of a sentimental level at the moment. And the China market, it's interesting with the China market, as we discussed a few weeks ago, that 3,000 level for the Shanghai Composite being a very much a psychological level. Since it went up above that level on the 21st of March, it's the average for the Shanghai index Shanghai Composite has been right on that 3,000 level for about the last 16 trading sessions, and we're slightly above that at the moment. So if we see some good data coming out of China as well, that will further boost sentiment here in the region, and we'll go up in accord with that. So we may actually head up towards that 69 point above the close yesterday, towards where that 100-day moving average is, and that's what I'd be watching for today.
All right, fantastic, James. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
James Ortis there from Shaw and Partners. Well, Unions and Arrium's major lenders have